First Contact and Misunderstanding. The observation deck of research station Prometheus 7 had become Dr. Marcus Chen's second home over the past 18 months. Suspended in orbit around the massive gas giant Kepler 442b, the station offered an unparalleled view of one of humanity's most distant frontiers. Marcus pressed his palm against the reinforced viewport, watching the planet's swirling amber and violet clouds dance in patterns that defied mathematical prediction. "Still no sleep again, Marcus?" Captain Sarah Mitchell's voice carried a mixture of concern and familiarity as she entered the observation lounge. Her footsteps echoed softly in the quiet space where only the gentle hum of life support systems broke the silence. Marcus turned from the window, running a hand through his disheveled black hair. Dark circles under his brown eyes spoke of many late nights spent analyzing data streams from the planet below. The energy readings from the third moon keep fluctuating in ways that don't match any known geological processes. Something down there is actively generating organized electromagnetic patterns. Sarah joined him at the viewport, her reflection ghost-like in the transparent aluminum. As station commander, she had learned to read the signs when her scientists were onto something significant. Marcus had that particular intensity in his posture that meant he was close to a breakthrough. Dr. Vasquez ran the patterns through every database in our archives, Marcus continued, gesturing toward the distant moon system barely visible as pinpricks of light. No natural phenomenon creates geometric sequences like these. We're looking at technology, Sarah. Advanced technology. The implications hung in the air between them. Prometheus 7 had been established as humanity's furthest research outpost, designed to study exotic physics in deep space. Finding evidence of alien technology would change everything about humanity's understanding of their place in the galaxy. "You prepared a formal report for Earth Command?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. Marcus shook his head. "Not yet. I want to be absolutely certain before we announce potential first contact. One false alarm could set xenobiology, research back decades." He paused, studying the gas giant's moon system through the enhanced viewer mounted near the observation windows. "But Sarah, if I'm right about this, we're not alone out here." 3 days later, Marcus's patience was rewarded in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. The first sign of contact came through Dr. Elena Vasquez's communication arrays. Elena had been monitoring subspace frequencies when her equipment suddenly registered an approaching object, moving at impossible speeds. The vessel appeared on their sensors like a ghost materializing from hyperspace, its energy signature unlike anything in human databases. "Marcus, you need to see this immediately." Elena's voice crackled through the station's intercom system, barely containing her excitement. Marcus abandoned his lunch and rushed to the communication center, where Elena sat surrounded by displays showing sensor readings that defied explanation. On the main screen, an image slowly resolved that took his breath away. The alien vessel was a masterpiece of engineering artistry. Crystalline structures spiraled around a central core that pulsed with soft, blue-white light. The ship's surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, creating patterns that were both geometric and organic. Delicate wing-like extensions unfurled from the main body, each one traced with veins of luminescent energy that pulsed in rhythmic waves. "My God," Marcus whispered, leaning closer to the display. "She's so beautiful." The words slipped out before he could stop them, spoken with the wonder of a scientist witnessing something unprecedented. The ship moved with fluid grace, its crystalline hull catching and refracting the light from Kepler 442b's binary star system. Every line and curve seemed purposeful, designed not just for function, but for aesthetic perfection. Elena glanced at him with raised eyebrows but continued her analysis. "The vessel is approximately 200 meters in length, composed of materials our sensors can't fully analyze. Energy output suggests propulsion systems operating on principles we don't understand." Marcus studied the graceful alien craft, his mind racing through possibilities. "Any response to our standard first contact protocols?" "Nothing yet. They've maintained a steady approach vector toward our position, but no communication attempts." Elena paused, checking her readings again. Wait, something's changing. The ship's movement pattern shifted subtly, its previous smooth approach becoming more cautious, almost hesitant. The energy signatures fluctuated in ways that suggested internal activity, as if the occupants were debating their next course of action. "Should I alert Captain Mitchell?" Elena asked. Before Marcus could respond, the air behind them seemed to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The effect was subtle at first, barely noticeable in peripheral vision, but it gradually intensified until the distortion became impossible to ignore. "Elena, are you seeing this?" Marcus asked, pointing toward the strange atmospheric phenomenon developing near the communication console. Elena turned to follow his gaze just as the shimmering resolved into a humanoid figure. The materialization was so gradual and silent that, for a moment, both humans wondered if they were experiencing some kind of shared hallucination. The being that appeared before them was unmistakably alien, yet hauntingly beautiful in ways that transcended species boundaries. She stood approximately Marcus's height, with an elegant, elongated form that suggested both strength and grace. Her skin possessed an opalescent quality, shifting between pale blue and silver depending on the angle of light. Most striking were her eyes, large and luminous, colored like liquid mercury that reflected depths of intelligence and curiosity. She wore what appeared to be a form-fitting garment that seemed to be grown rather than manufactured, its surface rippling with the same energy patterns they had observed on her ship. Delicate, almost ethereal features gave her an ageless quality, though something in her bearing suggested youth and inexperience. "Greetings," she spoke, her voice carrying musical tones that resonated strangely in the air around them. "I am Kira, Felthara of the Etherian Collective. Please forgive my unannounced presence aboard your research facility." Marcus and Elena stood frozen, their scientific training warring with the surreal nature of the moment. First contact protocols had covered many scenarios, but none had prepared them for an alien visitor who could apparently materialize at will inside their supposedly secure station. "How long have you been observing us?" Marcus managed to ask, his voice steadier than he felt. Kira tilted her head in a gesture that seemed almost human in its curiosity. "Your species uses linear time measurements differently than mine, but by your calculations, approximately 17 of your days. I have been studying human behavior patterns and your approach to scientific investigation." Elena found her voice. "You've been invisible on our station for over 2 weeks?" "Not invisible," Kira corrected gently. "Etherians can shift our molecular resonance to exist slightly outside normal visual spectrum. Your sensors detected my presence, but your minds interpreted the readings as equipment fluctuations." The implication struck Marcus like a physical blow. "The energy anomalies from the moon system, that was you?" "My people have established a temporary research outpost on your third moon," Kira confirmed. "We have been observing human expansion into this region of space with great interest. Your species demonstrates problem-solving approaches that are quite unique among the galactic civilizations we have encountered." "Galactic civilizations?" Elena echoed weakly. Kira's expression shifted to what might have been the Etherian equivalent of surprise. "You were unaware that you share the galaxy with other sapient species? This explains much about human behavior patterns that we found puzzling." Marcus stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overriding his shock. "What specifically about human behavior interested your people?" "Your response to the unknown," Kira replied, gesturing toward the various research equipment surrounding them. "Most species, upon encountering phenomena they cannot immediately categorize, either retreat to safer territories or attempt to destroy what they do not understand. Humans consistently display a third option: investigation driven by curiosity, rather than fear or aggression." She moved closer to the main display, which still showed her people's ship. "When Dr. Chen observed our vessel and expressed aesthetic appreciation rather than territorial concern, it confirmed our preliminary assessments about human cognitive patterns." Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks as he realized the implications. "You heard what I said about your ship? Etherian auditory capabilities extend beyond your species' range, and our translation matrices had been analyzing human linguistic patterns for several days," Kira explained. "Your comment about beauty was particularly interesting, because it suggested an ability to appreciate functional design across species barriers. The communication center's doors hissed open, and Captain Mitchell entered with 2 security officers, their hands resting casually but meaningfully on their sidearms. Sarah's military training had kicked in the moment Elena's emergency signal reached the bridge. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Vasquez, please step away from the alien visitor," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed in crisis situations. Kira observed the new arrivals with interest rather than alarm. "Captain Mitchell, I presume. Your reputation for protecting your crew is noted in our cultural analysis files." Sarah's eyes widened slightly at being recognized by name, but her stance remained defensive. "How do you know who I am?" "As I explained to your colleagues, my people have been observing this station for some time. We find human social hierarchies and loyalty structures fascinating compared to other species we have studied." Kira's tone remained calm and respectful. "I mean no harm to you or your crew. Nevertheless, I'm implementing first contact protocols," Sarah replied firmly. "This encounter needs to be documented properly, and Earth Command must be notified immediately." Kira nodded, understanding. "Your caution is wise. However, I should inform you that this contact was not entirely accidental. My people have been debating whether to reveal ourselves to humanity for some time. Recent developments in our region of space have made this decision more urgent." "What kind of developments?" Marcus asked, his scientific curiosity overriding. "Diplomatic caution. A threat that has forced the Etherian collective to reconsider our traditional isolation policies," Kira replied, her luminous eyes reflecting what appeared to be concern. "We may soon require allies who possess humanity's particular approach to solving impossible problems." The weight of her words settled over the small group like a heavy blanket. Marcus looked around at his colleagues, seeing his own mixture of excitement and apprehension reflected in their faces. They had begun the day as researchers studying distant worlds and energy patterns. Now they found themselves at the center of what could be humanity's most important moment since leaving Earth. Captain Mitchell squared her shoulders, falling back on military protocol in the face of unprecedented circumstances. "I'm going to need you to remain in our custody while we establish proper diplomatic channels. This is bigger than our small research station can handle alone." "I understand your position, Captain," Kira replied with what seemed to be genuine respect. "However, I should mention that my arrival here was observed by my people. If I do not report back within a specified time period, they will assume I have been harmed and react accordingly." Sarah's security training immediately flagged the potential threat. "Are you saying your people will attack our station?" "Not attack," Kira clarified quickly. "But they will likely reveal themselves in a more dramatic fashion to ensure my safety. A full Etherian diplomatic vessel materializing around your station might cause panic among your crew." Marcus stepped forward, his role as xenobiologist making him the de facto expert on alien behavior, despite having no previous experience with actual aliens. "What would you suggest as the best way to proceed?" Kira considered the question carefully. "Allow me to contact my people and inform them that I am safe, and that initial contact has been successful. In exchange, I will remain here to facilitate proper communication between our species until your superiors can establish formal diplomatic relations." The proposal seemed reasonable, but Sarah remained cautious. "How do we know we can trust you? Your people have been spying on us for weeks, without our knowledge." "Because," Kira replied with something that might have been an Etherian smile, "if we intended harm to your species, we would not need to spy. Dr. Chen's reaction to our ship demonstrated something our observations had suggested, but we needed to confirm." "What's that?" Marcus asked. "That humans can find beauty in the unknown rather than just fear it. That single moment of aesthetic appreciation across species lines convinced our council that humanity might be the ally we desperately need." Kira's expression grew more serious. "The threat approaching our region of space has destroyed civilizations that thought themselves secure in their isolation. Survival may depend on the kind of creative problem-solving that appears to be uniquely human." As the implications of first contact began to sink in, Marcus realized that his quiet research station had just become the focal point of humanity's entry onto the galactic stage. The beautiful alien ship outside represented not just first contact, but possibly humanity's best hope for survival in a universe far more dangerous and complex than they had ever imagined. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Prometheus 7, but possibly the future of human civilization itself. Understanding and Alliance 6 hours after first contact, the conference room aboard Prometheus 7 had been transformed into humanity's first interspecies diplomatic venue. Captain Mitchell had cleared the largest meeting space on the station, installing additional communication equipment and recording devices to document every moment of this historic encounter. Kira sat across from the human delegation, her opalescent form creating subtle light patterns on the polished metal table surface. She had spent the past several hours answering questions about Etherian culture, technology, and their reasons for making contact. What emerged was a picture of a civilization far more advanced than humanity, yet facing challenges that their technological superiority couldn't solve. Your people have mastered faster than light travel, molecular manipulation, and energy systems beyond our understanding, Dr. Elena Vasquez observed, consulting her notes. What could humanity possibly offer that the Etherian collective lacks? Kira's mercury-like eyes reflected the conference room's lighting as she considered her response. Perspective, Dr. Vasquez. The Etherian way of thinking values harmony, precision, and predetermined solutions. We excel at perfecting known techniques, but struggle when faced with problems that require completely new approaches. Marcus leaned forward, his xenobiologist instincts focusing on the cultural implications. You're saying we think differently at a fundamental level? Observe, Kira said, gesturing toward the recording equipment Elena had assembled. When Dr. Vasquez needed to document our conversation, she combined 3 different communication systems in a way their original designers never intended. The result functions better than any single system alone, but it violates several principles of elegant engineering that would prevent an Etherian from attempting such a solution. Captain Mitchell studied the improvised setup Elena had created. You're talking about our tendency to jury-rig solutions from whatever's available? What you call jury-rigging, we call chaos adaptation, Kira replied. Most galactic civilizations develop along paths of increasing specialization and refinement. Humans appear to develop through integration of diverse, sometimes contradictory approaches. This creates problem-solving capabilities that more advanced species often lack. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent chime from the station's communication system. Elena quickly activated the main display, which showed sensor readings that made everyone in the room tense with alarm. Captain, we're detecting multiple, large objects dropping out of hyperspace, Elena reported, her fingers flying over the control interface. Configuration suggests a fleet formation. On the main screen, the elegant lines of Kira's single scout ship were dwarfed by the arrival of 6 massive Etherian vessels. Each was a masterpiece of crystalline architecture, but their size and arrangement clearly indicated military capability rather than scientific exploration. Kira's posture shifted subtly, taking on a more formal bearing. My father has arrived. Your father? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Admiral Theron Velthara, commander of the Etherian 4th Exploration Fleet, Kira confirmed. He leads our people's efforts to find new allies against the Devourers. Marcus felt a chill at the name. Devourers? Before Kira could respond, the air in the conference room began to shimmer with the same distortion effect they had witnessed earlier. This time, however, the materialization was more dramatic and purposeful. Admiral Theron Velthara appeared with the bearing of someone accustomed to command, his presence immediately dominating the small space. Where Kira possessed an ethereal, almost delicate beauty, her father projected strength and authority. His opalescent skin carried darker tones, and his mercury eyes held depths of experience that spoke of difficult decisions and hard-won victories. His clothing was more elaborate than Kira's, incorporating what appeared to be rank insignia and functional elements that suggested both ceremonial and practical purposes. Captain Mitchell, he spoke, his voice carrying the same musical qualities as Kira's but with undertones of authority. I am Admiral Theron Velthara. I apologize for arriving unannounced, but urgent circumstances require immediate discussion. Sarah stood, falling back on military protocol. Admiral Theron, welcome aboard Prometheus 7. I'm Captain Sarah Mitchell, commanding this research station. Your daughter has been most informative about human capabilities, Marcus added, standing, as well. She mentioned a threat called the Devourers. Admiral Theron's expression grew grave. The Devourers are a machine intelligence that consumes entire star systems, converting matter into more of themselves. They have been expanding across our region of the galaxy for 3 centuries, destroying every civilization they encounter. Elena's fingers moved across her console, calling up star charts. How large is their sphere of influence? Approximately 2,000 star systems have been consumed, Admiral Theron replied. 17 spacefaring civilizations have been completely eliminated. The Etherian collective has been retreating before their advance for 50 years. The numbers were staggering. Marcus tried to process the implications of an enemy capable of destroying civilizations that had achieved interstellar travel. What makes them so dangerous? Perfect adaptation, Kira answered. The Devourers analyze every defense, every weapon, every strategy used against them. Within cycles, they develop countermeasures and immunities. They learn from every encounter and never repeat the same mistake twice. Traditional military approaches have proven ineffective, Admiral Theron continued. Superior firepower, advanced defensive systems, even weapons of mass destruction, all have been analyzed and overcome. The Devourers represent the ultimate expression of logical, systematic problem-solving. Sarah grasped the implication immediately. And you think humanity's chaotic approach might be the key to fighting them? 3 days ago, our long-range scouts detected Devourer probe ships entering human space, Admiral Theron announced. They are approximately 18 months from reaching your outer colonies. Your species has perhaps 2 years before they arrive at Earth. The conference room fell silent as the magnitude of the threat sank in. Marcus looked around at his colleagues, seeing his own fear and determination reflected in their faces. Humanity had barely begun to explore their local region of space, and now they were facing an enemy that had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than their own. What do you propose? Captain Mitchell asked. An alliance, Admiral Theron replied. Etherian technology and resources combined with human tactical innovation. Our preliminary analysis suggests that human unpredictability might succeed where systematic approaches have failed. Unpredictability isn't exactly a military strategy, Sarah pointed out. Kira leaned forward. Show them, Dr. Chen. Marcus looked confused. Show them what? The solution you developed for the station's power fluctuation problem last month, Kira explained. The one that Dr. Vasquez described in her logs as completely insane but somehow functional. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. That was just emergency improvisation. The primary fusion reactor was experiencing resonance cascade failures that threatened to shut down life support. Explain your solution, Admiral Theron requested. I rerouted power through the waste heat, recovery systems, and used the atmospheric processors as supplementary energy buffers, Marcus said reluctantly. It violated about 12 safety protocols and shouldn't have worked according to any engineering manual. But it did work, Elena added. Not only did it solve the immediate problem, it actually improved overall power efficiency by 15%. Admiral Theron exchanged a look with his daughter. An Etherian engineer faced with the same crisis would have shut down non-essential systems and followed standard emergency protocols while waiting for proper replacement components. The systematic approach would have worked but required significant resources and time. Human approach was to create a new solution from existing components in ways no designer intended, Kira observed. This is exactly the kind of thinking we need against the Devourers. Sarah stood and walked to the viewport, where the Etherian fleet hung in space like crystalline jewels against the starfield. You're asking us to bet human civilization on our ability to outthink a machine intelligence that's conquered half the galaxy. Not outthink, Admiral Theron corrected. Out-chaos. The Devourers excel at logical problem-solving, but they struggle with solutions that shouldn't work but do. Human intuition, creativity, and willingness to attempt impossible solutions may be the galaxy's best hope. Marcus joined Sarah at the viewport. What would this alliance look like practically? Etherian manufacturing and scientific resources would be made available to human research teams, Admiral Theron explained. In exchange, human tactical specialists would work with our military commanders to develop unconventional strategies against the Devourers. We're talking about sharing our most advanced technologies with a species we met 6 hours ago, Sarah said. Captain, Kira spoke softly, may I show you something that might help you understand the urgency of our situation? At Sarah's nod, Kira touched a device on her wrist. The conference room's holographic display activated, showing a star system Marcus didn't recognize. Planets orbited a yellow star in stable patterns, several showing the blue-green coloration that indicated thriving worlds. The Calarian system, Kira narrated, home to 4 billion sapient beings across 3 planets. This recording was made 16 days ago. The peaceful scene changed abruptly. Dark shapes appeared at the system's edge, geometric forms that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Devourer ships moved with mechanical precision, their formations perfect and purposeful. What followed was not a battle, but a systematic dismantling. The Devourers ignored attempts at communication, brushed aside defensive weapons, and began converting the planets themselves into raw material for more Devourer units. Within hours, an entire civilization was reduced to expanding clouds of metallic fragments that reorganized into additional enemy ships. 4 billion lives, Admiral Theron said quietly as the hologram ended. Gone because we lack the tactical innovation to stop an enemy that learns from every encounter. The silence in the conference room was profound. Marcus felt the weight of potential futures pressing down on him. Images of Earth's cities being systematically dismantled, of humanity's brief moment of interstellar expansion, ending in mechanical efficiency. If we agree to this alliance, Sarah said finally, what guarantee do we have that it won't make humanity a target for other galactic powers? Because, Admiral Theron replied, if the Devourers are not stopped, there will be no other galactic powers. They represent an existential threat to all organic life. Elena looked up from her console. I'm receiving communication requests from Earth Command. Word of first contact has reached the highest levels of human government, Sarah nodded. This decision is beyond the authority of a single station commander. Understood, Admiral Theron acknowledged. However, time is a critical factor. Devourer scouts are already analyzing human defensive capabilities. Every day of delay gives them more information to work with. Marcus stepped forward, his scientific training warring with the magnitude of the situation. What would you need from us immediately? Access to human military databases and tactical manuals, Kira replied. Examples of human problem-solving, under extreme circumstances. Cultural analysis that might help us understand how human creativity functions. In exchange, we will provide detailed intelligence about Devourer capabilities, advanced defensive technologies, and manufacturing resources that could increase human industrial capacity by several orders of magnitude, Admiral Theron added. Sarah looked around the room at her crew, seeing the same mixture of fear and determination she felt herself. This isn't just first contact anymore. We're being asked to help save the galaxy. Captain, Marcus said quietly, 6 hours ago we were studying energy patterns from distant moons. Now we have the opportunity to prevent the extinction of countless civilizations. How can we say no? Elena's console chimed with another incoming transmission. Earth Command is requesting immediate full briefing on the situation. They're expediting deployment of diplomatic and military specialists to our position. Admiral Theron nodded approval. Your leaders show wisdom in taking this threat seriously. The Etherian High Council will be pleased to establish formal relations with human government. Kira stood, her opalescent form catching the light from the viewport, where her people's fleet waited. Dr. Chen, when you first saw our ship and spoke of its beauty, You demonstrated something our people had hoped to find, but were not certain existed among humans. What was that? Marcus asked. The ability to see potential allies instead of threats, even when faced with the completely unknown. Kira's expression carried what he was learning to recognize as Etherian approval. That perspective may be the key to defeating enemies who see only targets to be consumed. As communication links established between the human station and the Etherian fleet, Marcus realized that his quiet research posting had just become the foundation for humanity's entry into galactic civilization. The beautiful alien ships outside represented not just first contact, but possibly the beginning of the greatest adventure and the greatest challenge in human history. The Devourers were coming, but humanity would not face them alone. Armed with human ingenuity and Etherian technology, they would prove that chaos and creativity could triumph over cold, logical destruction. The galaxy's future depended on it.